On the farm, times were hard, but the babies thrived. There was cotton to be picked, so everyone chipped in. The farm's acres were dotted with sharecroppers' homes, and they all worked together season after season. The farmhouse had no electricity, but the brisk spring breezes moved the blades of the big green iron windmill and delivered the family's fresh water supply. One of the sharecroppers, Bill Bates, burly from years of throwing around 500-pound bales of cotton, was the foreman in charge of the rest of the cotton fields. All the sharecroppers took their orders from Mr. Bates, and Mr. Bates took his orders from James and Minnie. Snowy white cotton was their gold, their cash crop. When conditions were favorable, the shares were bountiful for everyone on the farm. It was the spring of 1921. Signs of new life were budding out on the farm. The twins, Joe and Jack, were toddling around, and the hens were back to laying. But death still slapped at Minnie. James suffered a stroke and died within days at age 68. Not even 10 years into their marriage, Minnie became a widow with 4 small children and a sprawling farm to manage. Making her way day to day through the grief took all of Minnie's strength and common sense. She grabbed hold of life on that farm and let it pull her through the days ahead. After many years away from the original farm, the family went back to Aiken to retrieve what was left of the original windmill that pumped the water to the farmhouse. The blades were bent and rusted, doomed for the scrapyard, but the windmill's tall, sturdy steel legs were still strong. Although the color had faded over the years, the metal legs still bore the black stamped letters of Greene. The name stamp showed the windmill was purchased and made for the family farm in Aiken years before the E was added to the spelling of their surname. One day, we hope to have it stand tall and once again watch the blades spin in the wind and pump water on the farm at Green Acres in Honeypath, South Carolina. Minnie's children learned the daily grind at a very early age. There were chickens to feed and hogs to slop, and the days went round and round. Out back of the farmhouse, a large coop was filled with cackling hens. This supplied fresh eggs and a boon of pocket money when the hens were prolific. The oil lamps didn't have to burn long for evening light. The children were up with the birds and to bed with the chickens. The family thrived on farm-fresh eggs with frizzled edges fried in a cast-iron skillet. Home-cured slabs of bacon were always served beside. They slathered home-churned butter onto their mother's crisp buttermilk biscuits. Minnie had mastered the art of baking from scratch on a wood cookstove. They made do and lived well.
Get in there. Are those hungry hogs or are they just plain old hungry?
As the years went round and round, Mary, Violet, and the twins, Jack and Joe, grew their families. Minnie was now affectionately called Granny Greene, but Joe forever referred to her as my mother. As Joe grew old, he never forgot the days of his childhood and forever loved crispy fried bacon and homemade biscuits. Over the years, I've tried to impress Roger's daddy with my homemade biscuits. I bake mine from scratch, fat and fluffy Southern style, but he usually can't refrain from commenting, "My mother's biscuits were round and small, thin and crispy." Then he would pause, as if his mind had drifted back to yesteryear, and add, "Hers were the best. Yes, food is good." Here's how I make Granny's buttermilk biscuits. Never have I mastered the art of cooking on a wood stove, so I start by preheating my oven to 450 degrees with the push of a button. Add to a mixing bowl 2 cups plain flour. I always use unbleached. 2 teaspoons baking powder, be sure it's aluminum free, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoons salt. Add in 6 tablespoons lard or shortening. You cut it with a fork or a pastry blender. I've even seen some mix it with their hands. I'm sure Granny Greene used a fork, but I have a fancy pastry blender. But the point is to get the mixture crumbly so that the mixture looks like small peas. Now you're going to add in 2/3 of a cup of whole buttermilk. The mixture should form into a ball with no loose flour in the mixture. You can add more buttermilk just a bit at a time as needed to make a soft, puffy dough ball. Gently work the dough ball on a floured surface about 15 times. Do not overwork the dough. You're going to pat out the dough to about a 1/2 inch thickness on a floured surface and cut out the biscuits. I use a floured biscuit cutter. You can use the rim of a small glass that it's been dipped into flour. You put the biscuits into a well-greased cast iron skillet or a baking pan. Bake up to 15 minutes or until golden brown on top. Remove from the oven and top with butter and allow it to melt down over the biscuits. Serve the biscuits while they're hot and steamy with slabs of butter. You can add a sausage patty inside, drizzle honey over them, or fill them full of fresh fruit preserves. Food is good. In our last episode, we heard how Minnie birthed twin boys at home in the year of 1920, and how she made do to keep Tiny Joe warm. I am not sure who enjoyed the times of reminiscing the tales of his childhood more, Joe or his children and grandchildren.
Put you in bread pans in the oven to keep you warm.
Could have been a shoebox there.
Shoebox, something.
And I thought she put you in the oven too.
Yeah, in the oven. You gotta keep it, put it on a low broil.
The big black stove in the middle of the farmhouse kitchen wasn't only good for cooking biscuits, it also gave the family all the warmth they needed to survive southern winters. On frosty mornings, the twins wiggled on their overalls while still lying cozy under a stack of bedquilts. Then they'd make a beeline for the heat of that kitchen stove. Years later, when Joe brought his own children to visit, Roger would keep his britches close by to jerk them on and run like a jackrabbit for the warmth of Granny Greene's wood stove, just like his daddy, Joe, and his twin brother Jack had done in the years past. Roger still relishes the warmth of wood stoves. He says it's the best kind of heat. It will warm you to the bone. He has used wood stoves as the main source of heat in our homes. Roger made our wood stove from scratch, using sheet metal, angle iron, and a cutting torch and welder. He used a cage fan and rigged up this wood stove to have it blow warm heat into the room. Cast iron pipe caps could be adjusted to let more air in to burn a hotter fire, or could be closed off to keep it burning steady. I think he's a genius.